The one drawback that I can think of off the top of my head is that I have to think a little more about what I look like when I go out to like the grocery store or like to the movies. I have to like, well, what if someone recognizes me and they want a picture? I don't need like my hair up in a bun and no makeup and acne all over my face. I don't need that floating around out there. So I'm a little more self-conscious about like the way I look. But I think that's just kind of naturally comes with the job, you know?
One time I was at the grocery store just to buy toilet paper. And I was just walking around with this giant bag. I just didn't have a cart, so I just need this. And then I remember this little kid was like, James? And I was like, hey, what's up? I poop sometimes.
Hi, I'm Rebecca.
And I'm James.
And this is Creator to Creator. All right, so we have a first question here. All right, James, when did you start drawing?
When did I start drawing?
Yeah.
I guess when I was like a 12-year-old kid. I was never really good at art. In school, I made these little stick figure comics, and I learned that I could entertain people with my art, and that was something that I really enjoyed doing. So started drawing was when I was 12, but then I started posting things on the internet when I was 16, and I got a drawing tablet for my birthday.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started drawing really seriously in high school, and it started off as like bad costume designs for like Pirates of Penzance, which was a show that I was in, and then it turned into Cats fan art.
I was gonna say, didn't you tell me, you told me that you had like a cat persona, and then I said, that's just a persona, Rebecca.
Yes, we'll tell the world this now, here on VidCon now. Live, breaking news, Rebecca had a persona in high school.
It's not gonna be a show.
Not really.
This is off topic, but what'd you think of the Cats movie?
I actually watched it and I thought, I wish I had been involved in this creative process. I wish I could have just given my notes as a rabid Cats fan. Okay.
All right. A question for you, Rebecca. What was life like when you discovered YouTube? Where do you think you would have been if you hadn't?
Well, when I discovered YouTube, it was actually late high school, and it was just like a random link that somebody sent to me, and I was like, wow, this place is cool, and I started making like Ed, and Eddie AMVs and all that kind of stuff, and that was just kind of like my first toe dip into it, and it was in the day where no one had even heard of being a YouTuber. You just posted things for fun. I never really considered YouTube to be like a career until like way later on, when everybody else was already like making it a career. But if I didn't have YouTube, I mean, I probably would be at a studio job right now, at like a Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks or something like that. And but I honestly think that this is the better gig, in all honesty.
Yeah, it's weird when I think that YouTube was created in 2005, because in my mind, like, YouTube has just always existed. Because I just remember just growing up watching Charlie the Unicorn, the Potter Puppet Pals, just all the OG YouTubers. So YouTube has just been something that's always in my life. I don't remember how I discovered it. It was just always there. And so, yeah, YouTube has definitely changed from where it was then and now, but I think it was for the best. Because now people are actually able to make a living and create content that, you know, has financial support to it.
Right, and we let the audience decide what they want to see, not big corporate producers who may or may not know what the audience wants to see. All right, so next question. When did you realize you could make animation into a career?
It was funny. I was in college, actually. I was just taking general math classes because I was in school to be a math teacher, and I would go to the classes, and then as soon as I was done, I would just stay in my dorm and just draw and do YouTube, and because that was my true passion. And I remember just one video, it was about ASMR. It just blew up, and I actually made a decent amount of money from it. And I remember just calling my mom and was like, Mom, I made this much money on the YouTube video. And then eventually, like, I kind of stopped going to classes, and I would just stay in my dorm making videos, because I would rather stay and draw and earn money than go to classes and do homework.
And spend money to go to those classes.
And so I was just a horrible college student, and then I dropped out. So don't do that, kids.
Horrible college student, but a great YouTuber.
Yeah. When was the time you realized that, oh, hey, I could make a living off of this?
Well, you know, the job of animator or animation has always kind of been a thing, you know, ever since the days of Walt and Max Fleischer. So it's not, you know, new to you know, consider animation for a career, but I didn't really get serious about it until after about a year of studying theater in my first college And I just kind of realized this isn't meant for me. Like, theater's not going to work out for me. And I was already drawing like a lot of fan art for things and drawing my own concepts and ideas. And both my parents, we all got together in the kitchen one night and they were like, well, what else could she do? And someone, I don't remember who, said, well, why don't we try animation? And I'm like, really?
Moving cartoons?
Really? You're going to support me in this? And
That's actually very strange for a parent to be like, oh, go into art.
Yeah, let's go into art. Well, they supported me in theater, so actually animation seemed like the more reasonable route. Because, I don't know how well I would have done on Broadway. But yeah, that was the first time we really considered it, and they were like, all right, let's find the best school we can.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. All right, question for Rebecca. This has multiple parts. Did you ever expect people would recognize you? How has it changed the way you live your life and the pros and cons of it?
It's always a weird thing to me when somebody recognizes me, especially when they're really like super happy, or I've had a couple people burst into tears, and it's just like, it's such an odd thing to me, because I'm just like, oh, please don't cry. I'm just a weirdo who draws.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
just like
I'm me, and I draw cartoons in my bedroom, and that's it.
And that's pretty much it, right? Well, it's just, we all in animation have imposter syndrome anyway. They have it out there in the studios where, you never really feel like you deserve what you have, or, any day someone's going to figure out you're not all that special. So, I think that's just par for the course for animators, right?
Yeah, I remember when I would get recognized, like back when I was first starting, when I would get recognized, it was such a surreal experience. I was like, whoa, someone who just saw my videos on the internet just recognized me and came up, and it would honestly make my day just to be recognized. But now it happens so much, and this sounds bad, but I'm sort of used to it. Especially when I go out to a crowded place, I'm like, if it happens, it happens. That's just part of it. It hasn't gotten to a point where I physically can't go to a place.
Right.
So
unless you're here at VidCon.
Yeah, except for VidCon.
Yeah, then we're not allowed into public spaces at all.
That's when I'm like, oh, this is what Taylor Swift feels like.
Yes, exactly. We are Taylor Swifts.
Yeah, but it's really fun and really neat, and anytime it happens, I have to be like, oh, this is such a awesome career choice that people recognize you and appreciate you.
Well, and the one drawback that I can think of off the top of my head is that I have to think a little more about what I look like when I go out to the grocery store or to the movies. I have to well, what if someone recognizes me and they want a picture? I don't need my hair up in a bun and no makeup and acne all over my face. I don't need that floating around out there. So I'm a little more self-conscious about the way I look. But I think that's just kind of naturally comes with the job,
One time I was at the grocery store just to buy toilet paper, and I was just walking around with this giant bag. I just didn't have a cart. I was like, just need this. And then I remember this little kid was like, James? And I was like, hey, what's up? I poop sometimes.
Yes, we all have those interesting getting recognized stories.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next question. All right. What do you think is the most misunderstood thing about the animation world?
One thing that I think that us animators understand, and that I think makes us a super tight community, is I think we understand how much effort and work is put into the videos.
Yeah.
And I think we're able to see other people's videos and recognize whoa, this is a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And so I think we're not competitive with each other. We try to boost each other. We try to help each other out, especially because we're only able to upload about once a month, and we have to work together to fight the YouTube algorithm.
Pretty much, yeah. It's because of the community that we can survive. Because when your video is just out, that gives me a little bit more time to make my video, and then that gets out, and then Tabs, and then Cypherden, and then Jaden, and it's just this ever-revolving door of animators putting out stuff. So it's always beneficial for a fan to have many animators that you follow. But it is really nice. I think one thing that a lot of Hollywood and society doesn't understand about animation is that it's not just meant for kids.
Oh, totally.
And that's, animation has always kind of been pigeonholed ever since, the days of Walt, where it has to be family friendly or for kids. And so it's considered by a lot of people the lesser art form, when you and I both know it takes a monstrous amount of hard work and talent and keeping these plates spinning, and to play at the level of a Disney or a Pixar, it's just, these people are masters at their art form. And so we're trying to kind of like use YouTube to break away from this, it has to be only for kids. Because, there are animators out there that, tell all sorts of stories and they, drop a cuss word here and there. You and I are a little more on the general audience, but it's we speak to our audiences like we're making content for ourselves, and that's an everybody thing. Everybody can enjoy it. So I think that's one thing that a lot of animation is trying to break away from is like we can make amazing stories and it can be for college kids, it can be for adults, we can tell crime dramas and sci-fi, we can tell scary stories, So that's one thing that I think is very misunderstood.
Yeah, I would say animation it's just like a different medium of telling stories.
Yeah, it's just a pencil versus a paintbrush. It's just a different way of telling it. So yeah.
All right, good answer.
Yeah.
What has been your
Oh dear.
What has been your biggest failure?
Oh, well, I've got a great answer for that.
Oh, I'm glad. I need to think about this one.
Well, my biggest failure was when I was in school. I was in the computer animation department, and the way this school was set up is that if you failed one of your computer animation classes, you failed out of the major entirely. And you had to wait about half a year to get back into the major if there was a spot open for you. And this school was expensive,
did you
hanging
fail?
around, I did fail. Oh. No, I was going through a rough period in my life, and the 3D animation software we were using is just this endless rabbit hole of learning and it breaking and having to work around it breaking, and I couldn't figure it out in time. I learned everything like 3 steps too late. And it was hard. It was hard for me. So I did actually fail out of one of my classes and only took one class and I got kicked out of the major. So Mom and Dad believed in me. They said, okay, you can hang in there for one more semester and we'll see if we can get you back in. And I ended up getting back in and I was that much stronger for it because I learned so much from that failure, And I think that's just in general, that's life, is you learn more from your failures than you do your successes all the time. So we might as well embrace failure. It's like fail early, fail often.
And what you can learn from that experience.
Yeah, and it's just, this pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back on the horse kind of mentality. And that's very important in animation. It's very important in the entertainment world, and especially on YouTube, because not every video you make is going to be a success. You're going to be at a public event where, you flub something, you fall on stage, you say something you didn't mean to or something like that.
Hasn't happened yet. I haven't.
But we'll see. Maybe this time around. But everybody fails, and that's one, glass half full thing. That's something we all have in common.
Yeah.
We all fail.
We all fail. And I like what you said about learning from it and growing as a person from it.
So what about you?
Well, I don't have a super wholesome story to go along with my failures. Well, there was a time when I was taking a class on public speaking, and this isn't really, I failed. I plagiarized the final speech that we were supposed to do.
Yep.
And the teacher caught me, and I was like, well, I thought we were getting graded on public speaking, not writing speeches. And she failed me, and I actually ended up having 1 credit short from this scholarship that I wanted to get to a different school.
Yeah.
And so that almost cost me thousands of dollars, but the person giving out the scholarship saw that I failed public speaking and said, oh, it's okay, I'm not good at public speaking either. And so I was able to still get the scholarship.
Yeah, theater boy, improv class boy.
Yeah, I was a theater kid, and I failed public speaking.
You failed public speaking.
But then I ended up dropping out, so, life happens.
Right. Well, I mean, I think, you dodged a bullet for sure, but I think majority of the time it will cost you.
Yes.
That kind of stuff will absolutely cost you. I think yours is like a 1 in a million kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the skin of your teeth you got in, just because the lady thought you just were bad at public speaking. I think the lesson still holds, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, take your classes seriously and do the homework, pretty much.
And make sure it's all your work. How do you deal with the pressure of constantly putting out content? I'm
honestly still dealing with that, and I don't think there's ever anyone that gets over it. Because we only upload once a month, when we do upload, there is a little bit of anxiety of like, oh, I hope people like what I worked hard on. And with time, you get better at it, and you you learn that, oh, I am actually a funny person, and people want to watch my videos, and you get better with time. But for me, there's still that moment of, oh, please be nice to my baby.
Right, and I think the workload is definitely lessened when you bring on people to help you. You have a pretty good team going, right? And I do too. I got a handful of people helping me, and that definitely relieves some of the pressure. But you and I are kind of like perfectionists who constantly want to be pushing for better. So the joke that we have between us is that just because we have more people working with us, that doesn't mean it gets out faster. It just means it gets better.
Yeah, it doesn't make the videos come out sooner. It just means the backgrounds are nicer.
Yeah, the quality is better.
Yeah.
No, I think that's an artist conundrum in and of itself, is that, you push yourself and you have a better team and you can realize you can make better stuff, so you want to make better stuff. You also kind of, like you said, you get better at it because you get into a system. You get into this system of like, okay, this is how long it needs to take me to write the script. This is how long editing the audio needs to take, and you can just dole that out to people. So once you kind of get a system down, it gets a lot easier.
It's consistency, yes.
Yeah, it is consistency. And it's when you want to do like those special projects that are kind of like a little nerve-wracking because you have to break away from your normal formula of work, right? Yeah, so I mean, it's just this constant thing of like balance
life.
And managing and all that. And I mean, taking a break is always helpful.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also being able to separate your personal life and your work life and know that, all right, I'm done working now, because I think we both work from home, so there's...
No, I work from an office.
Okay.
That's the way I separate my work and my home life, is that I actually like pay the extra $1 to have an office space, and that helps me stay more efficient anyway,
It's smart.
But I think it's really amazing that you can work from home and you can like zero in and focus and not be distracted by, your dog, for instance.
Oh no, I'm still distracted by food.
So that's just one of those hurdles that you have to manage every day.
All right, question for you. How has animation changed you?
Wow, how has animation changed me? I mean, to get a little philosophical here, animation has really made me realize that beauty comes in all different shapes and sizes, and you can find beauty and geek out about the smallest things, like how a finger bends. It's just like, oh my gosh, like...
Or when a character blinks and you're like, someone had to plan that.
Yeah. Someone had to plan all of that. And it's just, because like animation to me is the study of life, because you are trying to replicate life and create the illusion of life. And you begin to realize, wow, like the smallest things that have just kind of these miracles that have happened in nature and in the human form. And it's just like, wow, we're all just kind of like a slight miracle in and of itself, So I mean, that's a little more philosophical, but like it's definitely made me a harder worker. It's made me more patient, and it's actually made me a workaholic. I'm gonna be honest here, because like I just got to get that work in every day.
That's bringing it back to the previous question. Since we both had set our own hours, there's always that little thought in the back of your mind, like, oh, I could be working, which is why you need to separate, like, all right, this is how much time I'm giving to work, this is how much time I'm giving to a social life, which is healthy, I need to do.
Yeah. So, yeah, you don't really realize how much humans need a social life until you become a workaholic, and you realize, oh, wait, I need to see friends.
But animation and YouTube has definitely changed my life. I don't think any of this in my life would have been possible if it wasn't for YouTube. I wouldn't be at London, I wouldn't have moved to California, I wouldn't have had a pet dog. There's just so much of my life.
You couldn't have a dog without YouTube.
No. So much of my life, and so like everything that I have, I'm just blessed with because of YouTube and because people just watch my cartoons, and so it's given me so much, And
if I can elaborate that on that one too, I have friends who work at like the major studios, DreamWorks, Pixar. One girl is a storyboarder on DuckTales. It was an amazing show, and I just think to myself, they have the cool jobs,
Yeah.
They're working on these big, productions that are seen by millions of people across the world. And I once told one of them that, and she stopped me and she said, No, Becca, you don't understand. You have the cool job.
You're creating your own
things.
story.
I mean, like you own everything that you create. You have complete creative freedom. You are your own boss. You set your own hours. And that is like the holy grail that artists seek out all the time, and we've found it, you know?
Yeah, we're very fortunate people.
We're incredibly fortunate, yeah. All right, if all of this went away, what would you be doing?
Oh wow, we were just talking about
we
how...
were just talking about this.
I think what you said, finding a job in a studio would be fun, and if that doesn't work out, then being a math teacher is always a viable option.
That's part of your brand by this point. The would-be math teacher.
That's what I was going to school for originally.
Yep.
So just pick up back where I left off.
And I mean, that's pretty much the story apart from the math teacher part. The story of just working on my demo reel and getting back into the studio world, because that's originally where I was going in the first place, you know? So, and I still hold on to my connections at studios, and shouldn't be too hard for me, I'd say. But I'd love to hang on to this job as long as I possibly can.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that's such a popular question. It's like, what would you do if you woke up and everything in your life was just gone?
I think it's because this job is seen as an unstable job. It's so new and out there, and people seem to come and go from it all the time that it's not really considered like the most stable of things. It's not like you're like a banker or something, like you're a doctor, where you're set in that career for your life. So people are just kind of constantly wondering, so when this is eventually done, because it will eventually be done, because you couldn't possibly keep this going for the next 30 years, what are you gonna do?
I would like to do it for the next 30 years.
I know, right? That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, admittedly, that's kind of a feat in and of itself, because you know you see old waves come and go. You do see like a handful of people who hang on for the whole ride and reinvent themselves. Like Anthony Padilla did a great job. Jax Films did a good job.
Yeah, there's plenty of OG YouTubers that are still going strong.
Still going strong, and you know really still making a name for themselves in the space. And those are the people that are going to last longer. It's the people who can kind of like change, you know,
grow with their audience.
Exactly. So I mean, it can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. What is your advice to anyone watching who feels they would want to start an animated YouTube channel?
Okay, so draw.
Do it.
Draw. Well, I mean, do it. But like, if you really want to strengthen yourself right out of the gate, I would say practice drawing. Like, that's the entirety of what we do. Is just sit and draw all day long.
That's the majority of it.
Yeah, you have to be like a very skilled draftsman to even make it in the studio world. So the more you can do, as far as like perspective and human proportions and storyboarding and understanding cinematography and everything and backgrounds and character design, you know, anything you can do to strengthen yourself as an artist, I would say do it.
I will say that there's a handful of people have said, "Oh, James, I want to start a YouTube channel, but I'm not a good artist," and I always tell them that doesn't matter.
Right.
I wasn't a good artist when I started. You don't need to be a fantastic artist when you start. The important thing is that you start and you learn, and you always try to better yourself and just make the content and learn from it.
Right. And I mean, when you first start off, it's okay to like look at what other people are doing and try to emulate a little bit of what they're doing, because you know, when I first like tried to jump in front of the camera for the first time, I was trying to emulate what other vloggers were doing because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's okay to start off that way, but if you really want to make a name for yourself in the animation community, try to do something different, and as soon as possible, because that's going to help you set yourself apart from the rest of us. Is, you know, figure out your own little niche and your own voice, and you know, your own character design, and just have fun with it, you know, and set yourself apart. So
yeah, I think setting yourself apart, just ask yourself like, well, what am I bringing differently to the table?
Exactly.
You know, why do people want to watch my content?
Right, because you know, the thing that you bring to the table is, you know, your experience in comics and that kind of like that one-shot comedy kind of stuff, very, very improv-inspired stuff. And I mean, I bring the theatrical side of it. You know, I bring the singing and the drama and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of the cinematography that came with my storyboarding classes. So that helps us differentiate between each other. Is that, you know, you have your voice, I have mine, even though we're both in this community together.
Yeah, 100%. So the advice for if you want to start a YouTube channel is to just start. There's an upload button. You need to hit that.
So that was creator to creator, and I think we both learned a lot. You know, we got to discuss a lot of important subjects, I'd say.
And I hope you learned a lot too.
Yeah.